Hey, so today I am talking more about the practice that I've learned that has really changed my life in so many ways, and it's the practice of Hygge. And if you've watched other videos that I've done, you know that Hygge is from Scandinavia, and it's basically the art of bringing coziness into everyday life. It's making conscious decisions for me on how I want to show up. And so for now, I'm about to go clean my bathroom. But before I do, I want to take a moment to just take a deep breath, create some coziness, and clean my bathroom. I realize there's two ways I can clean my bathroom. I can go into my bathroom and scrub and get really frustrated. Oh, it's such a mess and how nasty it is. Or I can set an intention of hygge and maybe light a candle and think about how grateful I am to be able to take a shower every day, how grateful I am to have the home that I'm living in. So I think creating hygge, they're little acts that we do that remind us of how this life can be. One of the things that really drew me to hygge happened, if you've heard me before, I've talked about a YouTube lady called Diane in Denmark, and she kept talking about hygge and how in Denmark it's really bitterly cold. But they take the coldness and embrace it and find ways to make it warm and cozy. Like they'll wear a soft scarf. I just made the scarf with one of those finger looping things. Not the prettiest, but it's so soft and cozy. So you'll just wear something that reminds you to be cozy and just to be with what is. But what this made me think about was about how different my life was when I was in the military, married to my husband. We were in the military, stationed in Alaska. And in Alaska, it was really cold. It was really dreary. When the sun set in the fall, it didn't come back up until the spring. It was basically twilight all year long. And on the TV stations, that's all you'd hear about were the warnings about what a dangerous time this is. They would call it winter cabin fever. That's what they called it, cabin fever. And they would talk about the depression rate and the alcoholism rate. And when I lived in Alaska for 3 years, I did get depressed because it was dark and gloomy all the time. But then I learned about Denmark. Denmark is always consistently rated as one of the happiest countries in the world, and they also have dreary, yicky weather. But I noticed in Alaska, it was a sentence of alcoholism and depression and just horribleness. But in Denmark, they took the same weather and threw in hygge, things to make it cozy. So I realized it's like a lot in life. It all has to do with how we choose to show up with what's surrounding us. So with hygge, lighting candles and wearing things that make us cozy. Just give us a second, just a second out of our day to remind us where's our attitude, how we want to show up, how do we choose to show up in this world. And I noticed there are many different attitudes that I picked up from listening to people in Denmark talking about their hygge winter experience versus in the United States. One of the things I wish I could remember who said this because I thought it was just a wonderful example. The woman was saying about in the winter, she loves hammocks, that there's nothing more hygge than laying out in the hammock when it's cold and it's snowy and it's kind of just nippy outside than to be laying out in a hammock, wrap yourself up in the big blanket or a sleeping bag and just lay out there for a little bit and feel the contrast of the weather. And I know here, as soon as it starts getting cold, we have a hammock that we put in our tree and it goes inside. So this year, I'm going to keep my hammock out and see what it feels like to feel the coldness with the warmth. I've been experimenting with that. So with hygge, it's not getting rid of what's there, but it's accepting what's there and then learning to embrace it. One of the tips that I got from a woman that I thought was really wonderful was she was talking about how she was going to have a really stressful day and she was going to work. I don't exactly remember the whole story, not sure if she was going to have to fire someone that day, but the day was going to be very stressful. But because of that, she intentionally decided to set hygge. So when she woke up that morning, Instead of getting all worried and frustrated about what was going to happen, she decided to take a deep breath. And she didn't even turn on her light. She lit a candle. She took the candle to the bathroom. She showered by candlelight and set the intention of bringing in a little bit of peace in the midst of chaos. So, hookah doesn't mean that there's nothing bad going on, that there's nothing dark, that the world is not dreary, that the weather is not dreary. It just means that yes, sometimes the world is like this, but we can have a choice to bring in a little bit of hygge, a little bit of comfort, and a little bit of joy. And just making that slight shift can make all the difference in the world. So I invite you today to think of one thing you can do to bring a little bit of hygge into your life. And coming up, I'm going to be having some videos that I'm going to share some very specific things that I've learned to do that are lots of fun that help bring this sense of coziness and hygge into everyday life.